Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S3 3167 The Wind in the Willows, Part 2. Oh, that's the wildwood, said Red. My friend Badger lives there, but I don't visit. Too dangerous with weasels, stoats, and foxes. Before Red could say more, Mo spotted a stream of bubbles and Otter's wet brown head popped up. Everyone is on the river today, he gasped. I've just seen Mr. Toad in his new boat, new outfit, new gear, new everything. Can't stop. And with a splash, Otto was gone. Red frowned. Typical, he said. Toad is a great fellow, but he always wants something new. Then as soon as has it, he's bored. He stayed on the river until the sun sank in the sky. Mo watched Red pulling the oars and decided he wanted to row. Excited, he jumped up and snatched the oar. Then he plunged them into the water. He slipped and flew into the air and landed on Red. In a panic, Mo grabbed at the side of the boat. Splish! The boat went over and he was in the river. A very cold, wet river. Coughing and spluttering, Mo was going under when a firm paw reached out to haul him to safety. Oh, Reddy, he sobbed. A soggy lump of misery. I'm so sorry, Red smiled. Don't think any more about it, but how would you like to stay with me for a while? I could teach you to swim and row. Mo was so pleased he could only nod as they squelched home. Chapter 2 of The Open Road. One bright summer morning, Red was writing a poem about ducks when Mo appeared. Hey, Reddy, he said, can we visit Mr. Toad? Of course, cried Red, jumping up. Well, now, we'll row there at once. It's never the wrong time to visit Toad. Mo gasped as he saw Toad Hall, a grand house with a lawn that went right down to the river. What a beautiful place. Toad was in his garden, studying a map. Hooray, he said, as Red and Mo strolled up. You're just in time for a trip in my new caravan. I thought you had a new boat, said Red. Oh, pooh, said Toad. Rudely, boats are boring. Wait until you see my wonderful caravan. There was no doubt it had everything they might need for a few days away, and also cleverly stored. Soon they were on the open road. Even Red, who missed his river, enjoyed ambling along the narrow lanes. He and Mo were walking beside the caravan, talking of this and that, when pooh, a car swept past, throwing up a cloud of dust and knocking the caravan over. Red jumped up and down in fury, waving his fist at the car. You villains, he shouted, you scoundrels. Toad didn't say anything but pooh. Mo went to calm the horse and check the caravan. It's ruined, he said sadly. Oh, Toad. Who cares about that horrible little car? Scoffed Toad. A car is the only way to trouble. And he talked of nothing else all the way back to Toad Hall. Chapter 3 The Wild Wood. After they ruined the caravan trip, Mo and Red stayed quietly by the river. Many of Red's friends looked in for a chat, but never Badger. Leaves fell and chill winds blew. Red stayed inside, snoozing by the fire. So one cold afternoon, Mo slipped out to visit Badger himself. He felt quite cheerful as he entered the wild wood until dusk fell. The wood, already dark, grew darker. Strange shadows danced about him. Then a whistling began, faint, shrill, and shrieking sound, and all around. In a panic, Mo began to run, bumping into things and falling over. Shaking with fear, he hid in the hollow of an old oak tree. Lost, worn out, and very, very scared. Meanwhile, Red had woken up. Molly, he called, but there was no answer. He saw Mo's coat and boots were gone and went outside. There in the mud were Mo's track. leading straight into the wild wood. Horrified, Red grabbed a stick and set off, calling for his friend the whole time. Molly, where are you? It's me, Red. Ready? At last he heard a little cry. Ready? Is it really you? Mo whimpered from his hiding place. It really is, said Red. Come on, we must go home. But it had started to snow. Flakes whirled around them, covering the trees and hiding the path. Red shivered. We may have to stay here after all. They were looking for shelter when Mo fell over a door scrapers. Ow! Ow! Hooray! To Mo's surprise, Red laughed and began to dig in the snow. I don't see why you're so happy, grumbled Mo. I've just scraped my shin. Don't you see? Panted Red. You have found the entrance to Badger's burrow. And Mole had. A badger, yelled Red, banging on the door. It's Red and my buddy Mo, lost in the snow. Ready? Said Badger when he opened the door at last. What are you doing out here? Come in and get yourselves warm. He led them to a snug kitchen, found them dry clothes, and made supper. Over steaming cocoa and oat cakes, they began to talk. Tell me all the news, said Badger. How's Toad? Reddy frowned. Gone from bad to worse. He had another car crash last week. He's been taken to the hospital 3 times, added Mole, and paid out a fortune in fines. He's a hopelessly bad driver, finished Red, with a yawn. If he carries on like this, he will be killed. In the spring we shall take him in hand, said Badger firmly. But now it's time for bed. The next morning, after a big breakfast to keep out the cold, and then lunch to keep up the strength, Badger waved them off. That's enough adventure for me for a while, thought Mole, as they headed for home. Chapter 4, Talking to Toad. Early next spring, Badger arrived one morning just as Mole and Red were finishing breakfast. It's time to take Toad in hand, Badger declared. We must go to Toad Hall at once. Up at Toad Hall, a shiny red car sat on the drive. Toad was at the front door, adjusting his driving goggles. Hello, he called cheerfully. You are just in time for a jolly, oh jolly. He paused as he saw his friends' stunned faces. Inside, ordered Badger. We're going to your study for a talk. Talking won't work, muttered Red. Almost an hour later, Badger and Toad came out of the study. Toad is very sorry for his foolishness with cars, said Badger. Aren't you, Toad? No, Toad said, not sorry at all. In fact, the very next car I see, poop poop, off I shall go. Then we shall show your keys and lock you in your bedroom until you see sense, said Badger. We'll take turns keeping watch. Red was on duty when Toad asked for the doctor and a lawyer. Oh, Reddy, I feel so, dear Toad moaned faintly. Red was alarmed that Toad must be really ill, he thought, racing from the room and locking the door behind him. I better get help. Toad laughed as he watched Red scurry from Toad Hall. Swiftly, he knotted his bedsheets together, climbed out of his bedroom and window, and slid to the ground. I'm just too clever for Reddy, Toad thought as he briskly walked away. He's no match for me. Feeling very pleased with himself, he went on until he reached an inn. Outside was the magnificent car Toad had ever seen. There's no harm in just looking at it, he said to himself, and then I wonder if it starts easily. As if in a dream, Toad started the engine. As if in a dream, he climbed into the driver's seat, and as if in a dream, he drove off at top speed. Chapter 5, Toad's Adventures. The very next day, he was in court. Toad, said the judge fiercely. You stole a valuable car. You drove it very badly, and you were rude to a policeman. I'm sending you to prison for 20 years. This is the end of everything, Toad sobbed as he sat in a lonely dungeon. Oh, wise Peggy, oh, clever rat, oh, sensible mole, and stupid, stupid Toad. Toad was too miserable to eat. The jailer's daughter noticed, and it made her sad to see him so thin and unhappy. Cheer up, Toad, she said. See what I brought you. And she handed him a plate piled out with hot buttered toast. Toad dried his eyes, nibbled at the toast, and began to feel much better. The jailer's daughter started to visit regularly. As the days went by, she grew to like him. Toad, she began on one busy. My aunt is a washerwoman. Never mind, said Toad. Do be quiet, she said. My aunt does the prisoners' washing, and I think she can help you escape. That night, a small, stout figure hurried from the prison in the dress and shawl of a washerwoman, hidden behind a pile of washing. Good night, ma'am, said the prison guard. Toad chuckled to himself. Night, he squeaked in reply. Toad stumbled through fields, over ditches, and under hedges until he was too tired to go on. With a huge yawn and pulling the shawl tight around him, he collapsed by a tree and slept. And Toad woke up the next morning. He wondered where he was. Then, with a leap of his heart, he remembered he was free. He stood up, stretched, then marched out into the morning sun. Before long, he reached the canal. A solitary horse was plodding along the tow path, pulling a yellow barge. With a smiling barge woman, Toad barely heard a friendly greeting. Is anything wrong? She asked. Well, ma'am, he replied, I need to get to Toad Hall to do the washing, and it is a bit of luck, the woman interrupted. I'm going that way now, and I have a pile of washing to be done. You are? Said Toad. A pile of washing, he added doubtfully. Climb on, she said. I'll give you a lift, and you can do my washing on the way. Toad stepped aboard with a grin. I'm so clever, he thought. Washing is in the cabin, said the barge woman. Toad shrugged. How hard can washing be, he muttered. After half an hour of fighting the clothes, Toad was hot and drenched, but the clothes were as dirty as ever. The bargewoman laughed. You're not a washerwoman at all. How dare you laugh at me, Toad roared. I'll have you know I'm a very distinguished Toad. The bargewoman screamed. You slimy Toad of my barge, never. And grabbing him by an arm and a leg, she flung him overboard. Toad went flying through the air and landed with a loud splash in the canal. Gasping for breath, he struggled to the bank, fighting his dress all the way. Oh, it's all over, he wailed. I shall be caught again. What's wrong? Asked the boy. Toad looked up to see a familiar face, a small brown face with whiskers. Reddy, he said. Toad, is that you? Whatever happened? I've had such trials, boasted Toad. Thrown into prison, then escaped, come to Toto, and I'll tell you the whole amazing tale. Oh, Toad, we can't, said Red. The wild waters have taken it over. Chapter 6, A Surprise Attack. A shocked Toad followed Red home. Now don't worry, said Red. Once Toad had dried off, Badger had a plan to recapture Toad Hall. Just then, Mo and Badger came in. Ready, we attack tonight, said Mo. They're having a party, and Badger knows a secret tunnel that leads right into the Toad Hole. And he stopped as he saw Toad. Toad, you're home. Whatever happened? It's quite a story, Toad began. No time for that now, said Badger. We must prepare. The night, armed with sticks and swords, the four of them crept into the secret tunnel. They groped and shuffled along until at last Badger stopped. We ought to be under the hole now. As they paused, they heard a murmur of shouting, cheering, and stomping from above. The tunnel sloped up, and they came through a trapdoor into the kitchen. Such a noise was coming from the main hall. There was a little danger they would be overheard. Now, boys, shouted Badger, and they ran into the hall. Squealing and screeching filled the air as terrified weasels He dived through the windows and startled the stouts shut under the table. Badgemole and Red dashed around, bopping anyone who got in their way. As for Toad, he went straight for the Chief Weasel and sent him flying. In 5 minutes, it was all over. Well done, everyone, he said better. I think we should have a party of our own to celebrate. Dear friends, Toad said over a jolly supper. Thank you for all your help. I wouldn't have my home back without you. And from that night, Toad was a changed animal. Instead of being boastful or reckless, he was content to live a quiet life by the river with his three best friends. At the end.